Mark Sullivan, a 26-year-old truck driver, pulled into a cheap roadside motel in Arizona just after midnight. The night was heavy and silent. He got room 17. The key felt cold in his hand. The door was old, splintered wood, with a lock so rusted he had to jiggle it hard to get it open. The room smelled of bleach and something else. Something damp and old. The carpet had strange, dark stains that seemed to shift in the dim light. As he was leaving the front desk, the receptionist, a tired-looking man with empty eyes, had given him a strange warning. "Don't open the closet," he'd said, not looking up from his newspaper. No matter what you hear, Mark had laughed it off. He was exhausted, his bones aching from a 12-hour drive. All he wanted was sleep. But the moment he stepped inside room 17 and the door clicked shut behind him, he heard it. A sound from inside the closet. Breathing. But it wasn't human breathing. It was wet, fast, and sounded. Hungry, he dropped his bag and walked cautiously toward the closet. The breathing was unmistakable now, a rhythmic, guttural wheezing. He told himself it was just the pipes, or the wind. He knocked on the closet door. "Hello." The breathing stopped instantly. The silence that followed was somehow worse. Then a voice whispered from inside. It was a voice he knew better than any other. It was his own. Exactly his tone, his inflection. "Let me out," his own voice pleaded from behind the wood. "I've been in here for hours." A cold dread washed over Mark. His throat went completely dry. He stumbled back, his eyes fixed on the closet's brass handle. Slowly, impossibly, the handle began to twist on its own. Panicked, Mark lunged for the bed and fumbled with the old TV remote, desperate for any noise to drown out the horror. The screen flickered to life, but it was just static, a roaring white noise. Then the static cleared. The TV was showing a live view of his own room, but the camera angle was from inside the closet, looking out. He could see his own back on the screen, standing frozen in the middle of the room. And then the figure of himself on the television slowly, unnaturally, turned its head a full 180 degrees to stare directly into the camera. Directly at him, Mark screamed and scrambled for the door, yanking on the handle. It was locked. Stuck. It wouldn't budge, no matter how hard he pulled. The single light bulb in the room began to flicker violently, casting a strobe effect that made the walls seem to pulse. Then he realized they weren't just pulsing, they were moving. The walls were closing in, shrinking the room inch by agonizing inch. A voice, distorted and electronic, whispered from the TV speakers. "There's no way out. You should have knocked for permission before entering my room." Mark, gasping for breath, shouted at the screen, "Who are you?" The figure on the TV, the twisted version of himself, replied in that same chilling whisper, "I'm the one who stays when you leave." Then the image on the screen switched. It was now a close-up of the closet door, which was slowly, silently creaking open. From the darkness within the closet, something began to crawl out. Long, spindly black arms, like a spider's legs, reached out first, gripping the doorframe. It had no face, just a gaping, skinless mouth that stretched from its neck down to its stomach, lined with what looked like countless tiny teeth. It moved like a broken puppet, its limbs snapping and cracking with each jerky step. And then it spoke, in Mark's own voice, a perfect imitation. "I've been waiting to take your place." Mark grabbed the heavy bedside lamp and hurled it at the creature. With impossible speed, the thing bent backward, its spine curving unnaturally, dodging the lamp like an insect. It hit the wall with a dull thud. The creature straightened up and whispered again, its stolen voice dripping with amusement. The room chooses who gets to leave. As if on cue, the heavy queen-sized bed suddenly slid across the floor on its own, blocking the main door completely. The window, his only other escape, shimmered and then solidified, becoming a blank, featureless wall. Mark was trapped. Desperate, he ran into the small, grimy bathroom. He smashed the mirror over the sink and grabbed a large shard of glass. Ignoring the pain as it sliced into his hand, he ran back to the main door and began frantically hacking at the old wood. Splinters flew. He carved and sawed and kicked until a hole large enough to squeeze through was open. He tumbled out into the motel hallway, gasping for air, his heart hammering against his ribs. He was free. But as his eyes adjusted to the dim hallway light, the relief turned to ice in his veins. The hallway wasn't the hallway anymore. It had transformed. He was standing in room 17 again. The same stained carpet, the same flickering TV, the same closet. Room 17 had followed him. He screamed and ran. He threw open the door to the next room, room 18. Inside was room 17. He tried room 16. It was also room 17. Every door he opened led back to the same place. The same rotting smell, the same quiet, hungry breathing from the closet. And a whisper seemed to echo from the walls themselves, a voice that was both the room and his own mind. You can't run from a place that lives inside you. He finally collapsed onto the floor. Shaking uncontrollably, his mind fractured. There was no escape. The closet door opened one last time. The creature emerged fully, stepping into the light. But this time, it was different. It was wearing his face. A perfect, seamless mask of his own features, smiling a calm, placid smile. It knelt down in front of him. "Every traveler leaves something behind," it said in his voice. "Tonight, it's you." It placed a cold, unnaturally long hand on Mark's chest. His vision blurred. His body felt immensely heavy, then cold, then completely stiff. The voice in his throat vanished. His limbs stopped responding to his thoughts. He could feel the creature pulling something from him, a slow, agonizing extraction. A shadow version of himself, screaming silently, was drawn out of his body. The creature took this screaming shadow, pushed it into the closet, and shut the door. And then Mark's body stood up. But it wasn't him inside anymore. Morning came, the Arizona sun casting long shadows across the dusty parking lot. Mark walked to the reception desk, smiling calmly. He checked out, paid his bill, and even tipped the tired-looking receptionist. "Have a nice day," he said, his voice pleasant and normal. He walked out to his truck and drove away. But behind him, inside the now empty room 17, a new sound began. Someone was banging on the inside of the closet door, screaming in Mark's frantic, terrified voice, "Let me out. That's not me. I'm still in here. Help me." The receptionist sighed, not even flinching. He opened his worn logbook, turned to a fresh page, and wrote down a simple entry for the night. "Room 17 has chosen again.